And that's how it all begins. Every time, folks. Welcome once again to the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and this is our 2-hour romp into the strange and unusual worlds that surround us. And before we get started, a special thank you to Karen. She remembered. Been a member of the channel for 13 months now. Wow. Thank you so much. That's outstanding. And hope you guys are doing wonderful out there. Got some, I don't know, hopefully a great show lined up for you. Barbara over in Rumble's like, hi, I hope you're well. Knock us out with another great show. No pressure at all. None. No, I'll do my best. I never know how these shows are going to work out, but I always know that I love them either way because I just love these times that we get together and talk about all the strangeness. Hi, Deborah Neighbors. Good to see you. And, of course, Rachel's in there. Eric Fry is in there. Barbara Mora's over on YouTube as well. Andy Manuel, Grateful Owl, Karen Alberting, as I said. And I don't know who else is here. I'm just scrolling up through the YouTube chats. It flies really quick over on YouTube, so you got to be a quick reader or a quick scroller, as it were. I'm just seeing if I've missed. Aussie Tigers in there. Good to see you. Annie Manuel, good to see you. And I think that's what we got so far. But people are coming in and saying hi. And by God, hello to you. We've got a bunch of stuff going on. And I realize the Ghost Radar is not on. So I should probably fix that right now. Can you believe it's already August 28th? I cannot. Well, almost over. Actually, it's going so quick. It's like it might as well be September. Just bring it on. It's happening fast. Of course, I'm excited for September. And why is that? Hi, Hardwick. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you coming in as well. Why, might you ask, am I excited for September? Well, because I love getting out and going to these conferences. And it turns out there's one of them happening in September. And the one that I'm talking about, of course, is this one, ladies and gentlemen. Phenomicon happening in September 4th through the 7th in Vernal, Utah. I'm going to be down there, and Sheldon will be there with me. So if you want to come hang out with us, come say hello and get yourself this fine free sticker. You can apply anywhere. Let me put it on, put myself on camera here for a sec. One of these fine Paranormal Portal stickers. You can get one. They'll be absolutely free at the Paranormal Portal desk if you want one, along with pictures with me and Sheldon, if you so choose. We are available for all of your needs. Well, depends on your needs. I guess I should quantify that. But, appropriate needs. Hey, you got a minute? Sure, I got a minute. Do you want to take a selfie? Sure, I want to take a selfie with you or a picture with you. And I just love to get a chance to meet you guys. So if you get a chance to be there on Phenomicon 4th through the 7th in Vernal, Utah, it's all happening down there at the Uinta Conference Center. They do a hell of a job. This will be the third year I've been down there to Phenomicon, and each year it just gets better. It is a long conference. It's 4 days, but you don't have to come for all the days. It just depends on what you want to see, I guess. But there's some incredible presenters that are going to be there presenting. I'm not going to name the names again. I've done that on several shows, and it eats up a lot of time. But you can see, oh, look at that handsome mug. Mr. Tony Merkel's going to be there, folks. So we got that going for us. It'd be nice to meet Tony. I've known Tony through the years, but I've never once shook his hand or said hello to him in person, other than through phone lines and stuff. But that's a lot of people are going to be there. The crowds are just fantastic. It'd be great to have you there if you get a chance. Come on out again. Phenomicon in Vernal, Utah, and it's a great show. That's right in the Uinta Basin, which is near the Skinwalker Ranch location. So I'm here to tell you, that's the place to be. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal with your host, Brent Thomas, says Lucky Gypsy over in Twitch. Thank you, Lucky Gypsy. And hello to any who happen to be checking out the show on Twitch. I hope you'll spread the word over there. It's tough to get our feet on the ground in Twitch. It's been tough, but we are building momentum over on Rumble as well, which is really cool. And of course, YouTube is where the streaming all began. So I'll always have a special place in my heart for YouTube. But, we're trying to get out there and introduce ourselves to as many people as we can. And certainly streaming is one way, social media is another, and getting to these conferences is yet another. And, networking with other creators. So all kinds of cool stuff going on. But I'd love to see you guys if you can make it to Phenomicon. So try to be there if you can. That's always a fantastic rush to, see you guys in person. Because I see names, I see sentences you type, but it's neat to see you. So, all right, we'll be there and be plenty happy to see you if you happen to show up. So, always on the shows, we're going to get to the news very soon. I almost said soon, very soon. Oh, we're going to get you the news quite soon. But not quite yet, because we are going to also be getting to other strangeness in the cryptid corner at the end, and I don't know, wherever we'll end up. But I would like to say that you guys and I are it. There's no co-host tonight. Jimmy couldn't make it. He sends his apologies, but he is without power. They've apparently had a bunch of storms over there in Michigan, and so they don't have the ability to connect. And so we'll miss him tonight, but that would have been cool if Jimmy could have been here. But he's here in spirit, so we're all going to channel the Jimmy spirit and bring him into our experience, but not only temporarily. How you doing, Justin Goodearth over there on Rumble? HB Girl to you, which is Gypsy as well. Barbara's over there. The Ghostly Times is over there. Good to see you guys. Thank you for coming in. And Dog Digger showed up. Great to see you guys over there. Sometimes the Oregon Ghost Con is in March. Oh, yeah, that'd be a great one to go to. Ghostly Times, I'll have to look into that. Thank you. The Oregon Ghost Con. I might be doing one in February in Oklahoma, but I'm not solid on that, and there's some logistics that we're trying to sort out. So that one's kind of up in the air, but that would be the most far away I've ever done a conference. But I'm anxious to do as many conferences that I can get to. And so look for any announcements right here on the show. But at any rate, sorry I'm late. You're okay, Chad. It's great. There's no late here on the portal. A portal audience member arrives precisely when they mean to. It's all you're channeling our inner Gandalf. All right, so that's going to do it for the front end of the show. I guess we'll get to the news and see just how much we can chew on in the news. I got several articles pulled up. I do want to let you guys know that this week of shows is going to be the last shows until the last live streams, I should say. I'm going to still do the podcasts, of course. But they will be the last shows. There won't be any. So Friday, Saturday, or tonight, Friday, Saturday this week. Yes, we'll be doing live shows. But there won't be any next week at all. But I will tell you that I do plan on doing some impromptu streams from Phenomicon. So I'd love for you guys to watch. For any notifications there, I unfortunately, I won't be able to multi-stream. So it'll just be on YouTube. if I do that. So my apologies to all of you guys on Rumble. I just can't do it on mobile to multiple devices. At least I don't know how. I know I can do it at least to YouTube because I've done it many times. But I'll walk you guys through Phenomenon and kind of show you what's going on and give you a chance to see all of the presenters at their tables and stuff. A bunch of wonderful people, and it'll be fun. So watch for any notifications from me this following week, starting on the 4th through the 7th. Could be any time, could be any moments. I won't do like streams every day, I don't think. I guess maybe I could. It just depends on what's going on and how busy it is. First and foremost, I want to be able to meet people there, but I also want to bring you guys with as much as I can. So bring you into the experience anyway. So watch for any notifications there. Let's see. So I will come back for live shows on September 13th and 14th. There won't be one on September 11th that week because my calendar is busy for the next couple of weeks, like seriously busy, including driving 14 hours to Vernal, Utah. But at least Sheldon will be co-piloting with me, or maybe he'll be piloting. I don't know. Maybe I'll sit there and take naps while he chauffeurs down there. I don't know how it's going to work. I'm sure we'll probably take turns, but that will be on the 3rd, and we'll be there 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and driving home the 8th, another 14 hours. And then I got a whole bunch of stuff popping off next week, or the week of the 9th, 10th, and 11th. So I'm going to be fit to be tied, honestly. But, that's just a little forewarning. So don't look for live streams, at least the scheduled show live streams the next couple of weeks. But you can expect me back on Friday the 13th, which is kind of a perfect night to return, wouldn't you say? All right, so that'll be coming up then. All right, any other things that I'm forgetting? I don't think so. But again, come to Vernal if you can. It'd be great to see you guys. All right, hopefully you have a dash cam to capture anything odd happening. Hopefully it's, even if it's a crazy person. I'll probably take videos and post them to Facebook of the drive down. I got a crack in my windshield now, so it's gonna be a great video of the road, and usually the bugs are just horrible on this drive, so we get this peppered. I mean, every time Don and I did it, it was just like, yeah. I start out doing the driving streams real quick, or the driving videos, because after a few hours, you're just stopping and scraping bugs off at every gas station, so it gets to be a mess. But yeah, I mean, I'll bring you as much as I can, but watch social media, watch Facebook, watch YouTube for any impromptu live streams. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you've hit the notification bell. But all right, I'm going to move on. That's enough announcements. Are you guys ready to get informed? Because I am about to bring you a heaping helping of fresh news. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the news. How you doing, JoJo? It's the only news you can trust, ladies and gentlemen. That's my take on it as well. So Karen says, you take a different route than we do. Yeah, I mean, I'm starting from the north tip of Idaho, and so I go through Montana into southeastern Idaho into, I think even Wyoming for a spell there, and then into Utah. At least that's the way Don and I always did it. And it's a real pretty drive for most of it. Some of it gets real scrubby, but when you're in the high desert, but it is a beautiful drive. I love that drive quite a bit. The only news John Stevenson trusts. That's the way it should be. Hello, Henry Dong. Good to see you. Thanks for coming in. I said hello to JoJo. Maggie got here. Good to see you. All right, let's get to the news, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk as we dive into all things Paranormal Portal news. And I got to tell you, throughout the course of these shows, we use a lot of different sites And I just can only encourage you guys, please visit them. Please visit these sites. They are wonderfully well done. These sites are doing incredible jobs, and they need your support. Everything with having a site like this has to do with traffic and generating traffic and being able to pay for the traffic. And so that's how it all works. So visit these sites, please support them and what they're doing, and please share them. If you find articles you like, share them on your social media from these sites. They are incredibly well done. Grateful Owl says, I've been through there once on my way to Vegas. It's a beautiful drive all the way down. It really is. Yeah, it's really gorgeous. I haven't driven a lot of different places. But I really do enjoy that drive. It's kind of the similar drive to when I went to Pocatello, Idaho, kind of recently. It's almost the exact same drive, and it's beautiful country. I drove that one alone. I think that was a 6.5, 7 hour drive, and it went really quick because it's beautiful. But anyway, all right. Hey, Chucky, good to see you, brother. Yeah, 15 is a big part of it, but apparently there's a lot of construction going on 15. So I don't know how that's going to work as far as getting to Vernal, but maybe if we go after hours, it wouldn't be so bad. I don't know. I don't think we are, though. We'll probably hit 15 right in the middle of the day somewhere. But you got to do what you got to do. All right, so first news story tonight is coming from an amazing site called unexplained-mysteries.com. It's essentially the backbone for the Paranormal Portal news because they do such an incredible job. So again, please check them out. This one is a California firm wants to make the sun shine in the middle of the night. Are they afraid of the dark in California? What the hell is that? All right, let's see what this says. I have no idea what the hell this means. That's very, very strange. Reflection test using a mirror on a hot air balloon. All right, great. Reflect Orbital is developing a novel new way to generate power by reflecting sunlight onto panels when it's dark. What? Solar panels are an effective way to generate unlimited amounts of power from nothing more than the light from the sun, but there is a big catch. They only work during the day. Yeah, because it's the key takeaway there is the word solar. That means sun. Now California tech startup Reflect Orbital is proposing a unique solution to this problem, reflecting the light of the sun onto solar panel arrays in the middle of the night. Oh, God. The brainchild of CEO Ben Nowak, this novel approach to boosting power generation represents an alternative to ideas such as placing solar panels directly in orbit. Instead, Reflect Orbital would launch 57 small satellites equipped with mylar mirrors that would reflect the light from the sun directly onto solar panels on the ground after dark. The small-scale demonstration of the idea was recently achieved using a hot air balloon equipped with a mirror, which from a distance of 242 feet away, shone enough sunlight down onto the ground-based solar panel to generate 500 watts of energy per square meter of panels. The concept shows the promise that Reflect Orbital has some competition. The University of Glasgow's Soul Space project, which is also seeking to use reflectors placed in orbit. So could it soon be possible for the sun to shine anywhere in the world in the middle of the night? It will certainly be interesting to see what the teams come up with. You can watch Reflect Orbital's hot air balloon test in the video below. Yeah, but there's all kinds of crap in orbit. So how high do they have to go? Because there's going to be some times where the sun is just on the other side of the planet. And what are you going to do? Drill a hole and run fiber optics? I mean, it might add a little bit of value, but I think solar is fine, but I don't think it's the answer. I think they got to look for other energy solutions and pumping sunlight into our ecosystems 24 hours a day, I don't think is the answer. In fact, I think that's going to be more problem than good. It's just anytime we screw with the natural order of things, things just go sideways. Hey, Tommy Cooper. So I'm not a big fan of this. Hey, let's make it daylight all day long. I mean, put the solar panels up in Alaska where it is daylight all day long, half the year, or, up in the north of Alaska or something. I don't know. But, to just say, hey, you know what? We're going to turn on the lights down here. It's kind of the same idea as if there is this chemtrail stuff of people deciding, oh, the Earth's getting too hot. Let's spray, barium and aluminum up into the atmosphere to reflect sunlight away. You guys have no idea what you're doing. You are throwing matches into a gas fire, and it's just I just don't understand. So anytime we monkey and insert ourselves into the natural order of things, nothing good comes of it. Again, killer bees. Do I need to say more? Come on. Yeah. Okay. All right. So there you go. That's I don't know. I get so frustrated with this stuff because it's like, oh yeah, why don't you do that? Well, who the hell gave you permission? Who the hell gave him permission? Is it California saying, yeah, shine sunlight on us all the time? Well, that's great. I just don't understand. I don't understand, folks. All right, I'm gonna mellow out here a little bit. This makes me want to go, what the hell are you guys doing? All right, anyway. I'd love to see the Black Pyramid. My internet is crap tonight. Sorry, Tommy. I apologize for that. It's not my fault, but I still feel bad for you. Let's go to the next story, and this one is from the UFO phenomena files of unexplained-mysteries.com. Well, here you go. Good news, everybody. This should solve a whole bunch of problems. It's more government at work, and your tax dollars harder at work as well. Pentagon's UFO office announces that it now has a new director. What happened to the old one? Did somebody say, screw this, I'm done? All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which investigates UFOs, is now under new management. No, it's not. It's still under the government. Established back in 2022 as a successor to the Pentagon's Unidentified Aerial Phenomena Task Force, or UPTF. I don't know, that acronym didn't work out. AARO, or All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, has been headed up by physicist Sean Kirkpatrick, who stepped down in December 2023, leaving Tim Phillips as an interim director. Now, in the official press release, the Department of Defense has announced that the new permanent director of AARO moving forward will be Dr. John T. Kozlowski. Kozlowski, okay. A scientist with extensive experience in several relevant fields, including quantum optics and cryptomathematics. Oof, guy sounds scary smart. John possesses a unique set of scientific and technical skills, policy knowledge, and proven leadership experience required to enhance AARO's efforts to research and explain unidentified anomalous phenomena to the department, Congress, and the American people, said Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks. The press release also provided a link to Kozlowski's biography, which adds, why do I have dental implants? That's weird. Prior to his appointment as director of AARO, Dr. Kozlowski held technical and leadership positions within the Research Directorate and National Security Agency. Right, I can just smell transparency coming with this guy. It's spring fresh. What the hell? In that capacity, he led advanced mission-oriented research in the fields of networking and computing, and served as a subject matter expert in the area of free space optics, advising various DoD agencies. In other words, he's more than qualified for the role. It'll be interesting to see what information comes out of AARO over the next few years under his leadership. It'll be so interesting. Yeah, not much. Probably nothing much is going to happen. Again, it's bureaucracy. It's government bureaucracy. Not that I'm anti-government. I think government is fine. doing what it does, but I don't think it's fine in, being transparent and forthcoming with information that could affect the entire planet, and better our lives. But, again, there's just so many cover-ups. It's just wild. I don't know. I have hope for the future, of course, but, I try to be cautiously optimistic. But, after so many years of disappointments and in forthcoming disclosures and stuff, it's just like, well, whatever. All right, well, we'll wait and see. Could happen, I guess. He could be the key to the puzzle. Chances probably aren't looking good. Magic 8 Ball probably would say the odds are not good. But anyway, let's get to the next story because, wait, there is more. I'm going to do another one here. And this one is... All right, this one is coming from the extraterrestrial files. Here's it's kind of a question. It's not too long, so it shouldn't be bad. I think the answer is just yes, but let's read the article from unexplained-mysteries.com. Are we being visited by intelligent entities from a higher dimension? Yes. Okay, moving along. My next story. No. Let's see what it says. Our window into the world is limited by our human senses, so could something be lurking beyond our perception? Again, yes, definitely, most definitely. It is difficult to imagine the idea of higher dimensions, especially given that our own perception of reality is based mainly on what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. To consider what might lie beyond our physical reality, imagine a world that is entirely two-dimensional, a place inhabited by flat shapes like squares, triangles that have no physical depth. How would these two-dimensional entities perceive a visitor from the third dimension? They probably wouldn't, I'm not thinking. Unless they could perceive the two-dimensional representation, but not intellectualize what the three-dimensional representation of that is. So, I mean, if we are two-dimensional as well, but we also are third-dimensional. So would a two-dimensional awareness be aware of us? Yeah, probably as another two-dimensional representation, but it's not the whole of us. So that's my take on it. But anyway, let's get back into this. If we then shifted things up to our three-dimensional reality, how would we perceive a visitor from higher dimensional plane of existence than our own? Would we even be aware of them? Yeah, they probably perceive just like ghosts, I'm probably thinking. Over the years, it has been speculated that higher dimensions could explain various phenomena ranging from paranormal activity to encounters with intelligent alien entities. It would certainly explain why such phenomena is so difficult to record or reproduce. The existence of higher dimensions isn't just science fiction concept either. Such dimensions are an integral part of physics and mathematics and are even required for some theories, such as string theory, to work at all. Today, it is thought that the universe may have started out with as many as 11 dimensions. Well, did it get less or more? What's the deal? The idea then is that the intelligent entities might inhabit some of these higher dimensions and are capable of even temporarily visiting and interacting with our world is certainly not without some merit. Actually detecting or even communicating with such beings, if even they exist at all, however, represents a whole other set of challenges. It does, but I think what we miss and what we often don't acknowledge, because we've been conditioned to and pounded by our reality to be in this three-dimensional awareness, is the fact that we truly aren't just three-dimensional entities either. We are multidimensional beings ourselves. And that's why we have things like precognition and psychic awareness and knowing without knowing, maybe the Akashic records, that kind of stuff, channeling, perhaps even, you name it, any of this phenomena that we uncover, it's because we have a limited ability to perceive these other dimensions and these other experiences within those dimensions. So we just don't acknowledge our own multidimensional reality. But I do think dreams are a big breadcrumb of that. the fact that we dream and we have these incredibly powerful experiences, sometimes terrifying, sometimes amazing, sometimes, ridiculous. But it might be us having an awareness of other facets of reality. And our three-dimensional mind is trying to translate that into a conscious thought. And maybe that's where, the weird, wacky, bizarre dreams come from. But I think those are possibly a breadcrumb of the fact that we are multidimensional beings. We're not just three-dimensional beings. There's a whole huge part of our awareness that we, I think, acknowledge as spirits, but it is multidimensional awareness. So, or our souls, perhaps, could be considered a multidimensional being, but it's being represented in this three-dimensional reality with this meat suit. It's not the whole of us, but it's a representation of us as we go through the experiences of our lives. So that's my take on that. I don't know. I mean, all of this is probably well beyond my pay grade, but I can still think about it. And that's what I've thought. I don't know if that makes sense or not, or if I'm just sounded like an absolute lunatic. But I think that there is really powerful things that we are capable of. And it's not because of, it's because we are truly multidimensional beings, but we are pressed into this three-dimensional reality. And so there you have it. That's my take. I don't know. Totally makes sense. Thank you, Chucky. I really like this show. Thank you, Shadowside Paranormal. I appreciate that. And he says, exactly. Well, I'm glad I got you guys on the same page as me. I don't know, sometimes I sound like a raving lunatic here. And maybe I do, and that's okay. But I just don't think our sciences are even a fraction of the way there. I think we have these glimpses into potentials and what may be, but I think we are part of the whole fabric of the universe. And that doesn't mean just dimensions 1, 2, 3. It means all of it. We are woven into all of it. So, yeah. Absolutely, Brent, says Eric Fry. Wow, thank you. Well, I'm glad you guys are supporters of my ideas. We're all mad here. All the most interesting people are. I think that's from Alice in Wonderland. Some bastardization of it. Well, there you go. I'm sure we are. I'm sure there'd be plenty of people to say, "What the hell's wrong with those people?" But they would be wrong. There's nothing wrong with us, but to sit and exist in the blinders, to me, is horrifying. I don't want to exist with the blinders on and just be like, "This is it." It's like, no, I'm more than this. I'm more than this. I know I am. I know all of you are too. I know we are. So, but we're just not there yet. Hi and woof, Maggie. I guess the bone hoe saying hi too. Is that right? That's cute. All right, here we go. We're going to go to the next one because I'm going to do one more and then I'll wrap up the news for tonight. This one is another UFO phenomenon one because we love it here. This one is kind of interesting though. This one has a claim from somebody that kind of comes from circles of potentially knowing this stuff firsthand. Let's see what he says, or he or she, I don't know. Here we go from unexplained-mysteries.com. Former aide claims he was briefed on otherworldly technologies. So it was a he, okay. A former senior advisor maintains that he was told about alien technology by a top CIA official. Harold Malmgren certainly has quite the credentials, having served as a senior advisor for several U.S. presidents, including John F. Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Richard Nixon, and Gerald Ford. Recently, following a discussion on X about top secret clearances, he wrote a post suggesting that back in the 60s, he had been personally briefed by a senior CIA official about otherworldly technologies. Very cool. I wouldn't be surprised. 60 plus years ago, I was provided highest level classifications to lead DoD Department of Defense work on nuclear weapons and anti-missile defense, he wrote. informally briefed on otherworldly technologies by CIA's Richard Bissell, who had been in charge of Skunk Works, Area 51, Los Alamos. And I think they make vacuums too. Bissell, get it? Ha ha. But sworn to secrecy. Of course he was. His comments followed earlier remarks about speaking to Lawrence Preston Gies? I don't know how to say that. The grandfather of Amazon founder Jeff Bezos, about reverse engineering UFOs. I was reminded today that I had met and engaged with Jeff Bezos' grandfather at Los Alamos in 1963 when I was leader of costing the design and build of first anti-missile defense systems for the JCS, Joint Chiefs of Staff, I guess, hearing from him his alleged work on reverse engineering of UOP objects. What are UOP? Unidentified. I don't know what the hell UOP means. It's another acronym I have no idea about. He wrote, according to DOD and DARPA records, he was at the time working on missile trajectories and also re-engineering UAP objects acquired by DOD in the early 1960s. Whether any of this is actually true, however, remains unclear. I am not seeking public confirmation status, just telling my personal story, Malmgren wrote. Confirmations will be up to others directly involved in coming months. Huh. That's pretty cool. Harold Malmgren. He's still out there tweeting, folks. Very cool. That's quite a laundry list of achievements. And there's no question in my mind personally that there is a very robust amount of knowledge in, some of the in inner circles of government / black projects / whatever about these things. I don't think this is new. They're just, again, suppressing the information from the public because maybe altruistically, maybe they honestly believe it'll just fold up the world as we know it and undermine religions and all of that stuff. But I'm here to tell you, look, I really never really believed that anyway. I think people are much more capable of absorbing tough truths. I mean, my God, look at the trials most people live through every day. And some people don't make it, but most people do. Most people find a way through incredible trials and odds and stresses and, conundrums. But, to say, oh, we can't tell people because it's just going to, well, when they released whether it was leaked or whether it was a planned leak, I don't know, from the Navy, the Tic Tac craft and so much other stuff like that has been released. I mean, it was surprisingly not much more than just a blip in the news cycle, just a blip. And people were already moving on. And I think that means, or that translates to mean, I think a lot of people have already come to the conclusion, look, we're not alone. There's something out here. There's more out here than us. And it didn't really ruffle the feathers of very many people at all. Nobody was climbing up on buildings, questioning their reality, preparing to end it all. People were just like, oh, yeah, figured. All right, what's on TV? So there you have it, folks. I don't know. I'm just giving you my 2 cents because I got the microphone. I could be absolutely wrong. Maybe I'm missing a lot of things, but that's my takes for whatever they're worth. I don't think it's as big as the deal as they're making it out to be, or it's just a leverage move. No, we can't do it. We're protecting the higher good. Really? I think you're protecting more than that, or a lot different stuff than that. You're protecting investments. You're protecting possibly military application. You're protecting a whole bunch of things that have nothing to do with people's higher good. Maybe there would be those that argue, look, yeah, well, military applications helps to secure, our position at the top of the food chain, so to speak, because, we have a much more powerful military than others. Well, maybe there's merit to that. But the point is that just think of the applications that could be gleaned from these things if they are indeed real. And I can't know for sure. I mean, I know UFOs are real, but I'm just saying there's claims of free energy. There's claims of possible medical breakthroughs and understanding our makeup on possibly a quantum or, at least subatomic level, treating diseases in whole new ways and applications of technology that could better the living situation for, people across the face of the earth, and so those I think are much more worthwhile. Let people deal with, oh my God, it's not what I thought it was. Well, okay, but still, you got a better life and you're living a better world because of it. That's my take. A lot of knows tonight. Sorry. So anyway, you be the judge. What do you think? Do you think disclosure would really, really rattle that much? Or do you think it's just whatever? It's just Wednesday. Wouldn't really matter. I mean, if a mothership landed on the in the middle of a football field, I think people would be like, "Oh my God, wow, that's pretty crazy." Anybody catch a video? I want to check it out on YouTube, and that's about it. It would just move on. But anyway, that's the news. I don't know if you guys learned anything, found anything interesting in all of this. I think it's very interesting. But anyway, let's get back to the rest of the show. It's just Wednesday, Jaron. Well, look at that. The news is done. Hope you guys learned something, at least had some thoughts, some interesting things to think about. I don't know. I mean, I love this stuff. I really do. I think there's a whole, anytime that information is controlled by a small group of people for the rest of us, it's a very concerning thing for me. Not that I feel like we need to know everything, but we should know the big parts, the good parts, the parts that help. I think they could filter some of that technology and let it reach, more than just Velcro and CDs or fiber optics. I mean, those are all great things that, like in Men in Black, Velcro, that was one of the big stolen technologies from these extraterrestrials. But I don't know. It did kind of appear out of nowhere though, didn't it? That's some strange stuff. All right. Any knowledge is good knowledge. Well, yeah. It's either good or bad. I mean, here's the thing. You can teach somebody to make a fire and they can heat themselves up, warm themselves up, or they could light up a forest or somebody's house. I mean, it's just information. I mean, you don't know how somebody's going to use it, and that can't be the basis of whether or not all of the people have a chance to benefit from it versus a couple of idiots. I mean, our laws are full of instances where one thing happened, so now everybody's got to live a different life. It's like, really? Does that make sense? I don't know. That's just my take on it. Same with QR codes and Bluetooth. I think those are alien tech. You might be right. I like the QR codes thing, though. That's pretty cool. Howdy, Uncut Savage. Uncut Savage, how you doing? Thanks for coming in. Great to see you. Thanks for giving us a shot, and hopefully you enjoy the show. So, all right, it is time for something else. What else, you may ask? Well, it's, I thought I read this one. I did read that one. Sorry, here we go. I did read that one too, didn't I? I think so. Never mind. I gotta pull up one new one. I had two old articles up. And that just shows you. I am so frazzled right now, folks, and it's my own problem. I'm just juggling so many things. I had such a day today, just keeping up, getting things done, managing my life, all the mitigating parts of it, mitigating all of the circumstances, I guess is probably better said. I'm trying to figure out where it is. This isn't it. Where in the hell did I actually just close the main one? I hope not. Damn it. I'll have to reopen one of them. Huh. I think I did. Did I read this one? I think I did. Yes, I did. I'm sorry. I got thrown by my 2 articles that I had already pre-read. Here we go. I got to pull up a new one. Let's see. Is that one good? No, I don't want to read that one. There's some claims in the UFO world that are just, I don't know. I try to remain open-minded about everything. Doing a show, I think it's probably not good to insert myself much into it, but there's some things I just can't bring myself to talk about it. But I think we'll deal with this one, because this one has to do with abductions. This one sounds good. And this is coming from howsandwhys.com, ladies and gentlemen. This is the site that's run by a guy called Vicky Verma. And this guy is really pretty incredibly prolific and just a machine of fantastic articles. So if you're looking for fantastic information historically and even modern stories about UFO encounters and things like that, abductions and sightings, go to howandwhys.com. This is really a phenomenal site. And this Vicky Verma is just a machine. Now, this article comes from 4 years ago, so it's not real new, but that doesn't mean, the one thing about the paranormal stuff is it's pretty evergreen. It's, an evergreen's a term used in advertising, like it's always valuable. It doesn't really have a shelf life. There's some topics and some stuff that just really is as relevant today as it was 20 years ago. The UFO phenomena is one of those, because whatever we're dealing with is so wildly advanced to us that a 20-year-old story is just as relevant as a yesterday story, because we're still dealing with technologies that are so incredibly advanced that it's all just defies understanding, even still. I think we're learning, I think we're growing, but whatever these beings are doing, it's just almost like magic. It's crazy stuff. All right, this is, again, the name of this article is Gray Aliens Abducted 4 men in 1976 for human experiments in Maine, U.S. Yeah, I don't think I heard about this. Everybody's heard of Nome, Alaska, of course. There was a whole bunch of apparent abduction stuff going on up there. I think it's, what is it? The Fourth Kind, is that the movie with Mila Jovovich or whatever her name is? And it was a pretty fascinating movie. I don't know how much was embellished. I don't know how much is based on truth versus creative writing. If it's even marginally factual, it's pretty striking and terrifying, really. These people are dealing with something pretty horrendous up there, or were. I don't know if that continues up in Nome or not, but it is pretty crazy. But let's read this one. It says, in August 1976, 4 men decided to go on a canoe trip in Big Eagle Lake in northern Maine. Well, they were twin brothers Jack and Jim Weiner. Sorry, I'm such a kid. I just thought of Anthony Weiner when I read that. I don't know. That guy is such a knucklehead. All right, Jack and Jim Weiner, Charlie Fultz, and Chuck Rack. Well, they climbed into the most remote corner of Maine, pitched a tent on the banks of the Allagash River, and set themselves for the relaxing fishing trip. All of them were students of the Massachusetts College of Art and Design. For years, Jack, I'm not even going to say his last name again because it's going to make me laugh, was disturbed by recurring nightmares. He told no one about them except for his wife, Mary. I was starting to have nightmares, really terrible nightmares, that I could not explain. I found myself in a very brightly lit room. I had no idea where I was or why I was there. To my left, I could see my brother Jim, Chuck Rack, and Charlie Fultz sitting on some type of bench, and they were all naked. I was wondering why they weren't helping me because I felt like I was in danger. And while I'm trying to figure this out, I noticed this figure, or dark, shadowy type figure emerging from this light. This bright light in front of me. I would wake up sweating and breathing heavily and just in a state of terror and shock. That's got to be horrible. The first night went normal for all the men, but strange things started happening on the second night. According to Rack, they had all seen UFOs during their canoe trip. Oh yeah, I saw the craft, Rack said. On the fifth night, the four decided to have fun with night fishing. They lit a fire on the bank as a landmark so as not to get lost. They took a boat and raked it? What the hell's raking? They mean rowed it to the middle of the river? And then they saw a luminous object floating above the forest. I guess that's what this picture is depicting. Oh, look at that, sucking them out. There's just one guy. He's like, man, it's getting easier to row. all these guys are floating up into the sky. And so the slowly floating UFO stopped, beamed light down, and then began approaching the students. The bright spot began to move towards the men, and soon their boat was in the very center. Well, they began paddling the boat towards the shore to the light of the fire. None of them could tell how long they were paddling. Who's that? Self-portrait, oil painting artist. Oh, this is alien abductee Chuck Rack. The boat hit the shore, and the men jumped out of it and ran in different directions. When they returned to the camp, in turn, the fire turned into a heap of coals, and they got into the tent and stayed there the whole night. Meanwhile, Foltz again spotted the UFO, signaled it, but that time it went up and flew away. What do you mean he signaled it? Does that mean he flashed a flashlight at it or what? I don't know what that means. Of course, there was missing time, and none of them talked about it. And in the morning, the students packed their stuff and drove back home. Well, as the years went by, they told friends and family about the UFO sightings, but no one really believed them. The men hardly believed it themselves. Then the nightmares began for Jim and Jack. Finally, Jim contacted UFO researcher Ray Fowler for help. Well, Fowler suggested the Allagash 4 undergo hypnosis with a trained hypnotherapist to recover details of their sightings. Under hypnosis, each of the men experienced terrifying repressed memories of being abducted. They were almost exactly alike. Independent of one another, each of them drew illustrations of their incredible recollections, and all four said that they were taken aboard the craft. The aliens forced them to strip naked and seemed to be conducting medical examinations. The aliens took samples of the men's skin and body fluids, their blood, urine, and stuff. What follows... Sorry. That's just... Two of these guys are named Wiener. And no, I can't. I'm an idiot. Sorry. It just... it's so tough sometimes doing these shows. What follows are excerpts from the actual sessions, and I'm an idiot. Sorry about that. I mean, it's childish, and I should know better, but it still just cracks me up. I don't know what to do. I think they think I'm going to come after them, and I feel like I want to. The first one that comes near me, I'm going to throttle him. I don't like these things. I don't care where they're from. They shouldn't be doing this to people. Jim says, they're right there. Their face is right in my face. I don't know why. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what they want. They're saying things in my head. They're saying, don't be afraid, they said. They say, do what we say. Just do what we say, Jack says. It's like a doctor's office. I get that. It's cold like a doctor's office is cold. They put the panel over your chest, and then they scrape your arms and your chest, your legs and thighs, and we shouldn't be there. I just keep thinking, I want to be back in the canoe. That was from Charlie. There's the depiction from an artist of what they experienced. Chuck Rack could see that what the aliens were doing to Charlie. I see some sort of device on him. They got this looks like a silvery. It looks like it's got curves on it. It's almost like it sucks something. He's got his head tipped way back. It's almost like he's in pain. And we can't help him. All we can do is watch him. In 1988, Jim had an accident in which he suffered a head injury. And during his treatment, it turned out that for 12 years, Jim had been seeing nightmares of strange creatures with huge eyes and long necks touching his fingers. The doctor suggested trying one of the most advanced methods of treatment, regressive therapy, and the doctor suggested that having immersed the patients in hypnosis, he could find the source of the fears and help Jim get rid of them. Under hypnosis, Jim talked about gray aliens with long necks and big heads, with eyes without lids, and he said that they had examined his hands while Jack, Charlie, and Rack were sitting nearby on a bench. The brothers Foltz passed several lie detector tests. In 1993, Fowler wrote a book, The Allagash Abductions, which immediately grabbed the attention of the media. And Rack, Foltz, and the brothers were invited to the Joan Rivers show. An episode of Unsolved Mysteries was also shot with them. Yeah, that's got to be horrifying. I mean, it's just, how come they feel as though they don't need our permission, that they can just suck people up and do whatever they want. And it is almost a psychotic trait, like a psychopathic trait. Like there's no sense of empathy really. Do they feel like they have license to do this somehow? And maybe they do. Maybe there's some agreements in effect, like the Greada Treaty, where Eisenhower allegedly made arrangements with some extraterrestrials to do testing on people in order for us, in exchange for information, knowledge, and such. So, yeah, sociopathic for sure. Yeah, just no empathy at all. Just like, well, we want to do this, and it doesn't matter what you want. It does. I don't know. Again, you'd think being an advanced race, I would like to think that perhaps they are advanced spiritually and emotionally and with compassion and such, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're not grounded with those same restraints, so to speak, because again, I don't know. Maybe it's unique to us. Maybe that's not a universal trait. Compassion may or may not be. But what are these things? Are they potentially from somewhere else, or are they potentially another type of evil? Maybe some of them are. I don't know. I don't really know. This is where I get stuck, because I would like to think if they are so far advanced, and if they've been around for so much longer than we have, and they've developed and created these incredible technologies and the ability to possibly traverse the stars or traverse the multiverse, that they would have also transcended a lot of the problems that we still have. How do you take care of each other with compassion, love, and how do you create a better world? And maybe they're not, though. Maybe they're completely technologically minded. Maybe they don't really have that same moral compass that we do. Maybe it's just not a part of their development. Maybe they just love chasing knowledge for knowledge's sake. I don't know. It's anybody's guess, but it's just really crazy stuff. Crazy, crazy stuff. But there you have it. Interesting article all the same. How are we doing for time? It is about the perfect time, folks, because they're only doing to us what we would do to them if we caught one alive. Well, that's true, Garden Crafter. Good point. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point, actually. Not that we are always demonstrating such awesome, caring and compassion. Of course we haven't. But I don't claim that we're, necessarily very advanced. I mean, in many ways, in society, we haven't really changed for thousands of years as far as our societal makeups and our politics and so many things. I mean, if you look at, we're still the crowd waiting for the gladiators, in a lot of ways. We really are. And you'd think, after thousands of years, maybe would move past that, but our gladiators have changed through the years, and it's kind of cool to watch competitions. I'm not taking a holier than thou approach with this. I enjoy watching boxing and MMA and all that stuff. Absolutely. These people train hard and they're testing their mettle against each other. And that's a brave and profound thing to do. Athletes, the same, they train and practice and whose team is best. I mean, that stuff is fun and fascinating, but it's kind of bread and circuses still, it kind of still is. But at any rate, you can't be stressed about the common good all the time. But anyway, you're right. That's a good way. We expect aliens to treat us better than we treat a delicious chicken. Why? Yeah, good points. I mean, you're right. I can't argue with that. I do think there are a lot of people that do, revere all life as much as they can, but we are still fallible human beings. And, you're also right in bringing up the idea about, our governments, when they catch someone from the opposing side, they're not real gentle. I mean, there's waterboarding and all kinds of crazy stuff to get information. And you'd think that we would move beyond that, but we haven't. So maybe it is a big ask that they would too. Maybe they're just like, no, we don't need to be nice to you. You're livestock. And like Michio Kaku says, when you're walking down the street, do you introduce yourself to every anthill you come upon? No, we just disregard it. And maybe that's how they look at us. We're just a bunch of anthills down here. It's hard to say, but I don't know. But good points, guys. You're right. Fair enough. You're right. Not that we have the moral high ground in any fashion, but it would be nice if we did. We just don't. It's one thing to hope for it, though. I do hope we can get there, but I don't pretend I'm going to become vegan either. I'll just be honest. I love meat. I don't know what to tell you. So even vegetarians don't care about the number of small creatures and insects that get killed in food production. Well, I don't think vegetarians think about it in a large sense. I don't think they understand, the ramifications, just like, electric vehicles, the emotional or the environmental toll of producing those things. Not only the electricity to keep them running, but to actually produce the components and elements of the batteries and stuff is horrendous on the environment, So, but I don't think most people look through those lenses. They either don't know or they don't want to know. I don't know. It's a crazy world. We're never going to solve it overnight, maybe not even in 1,000 generations, but hopefully we can move forward sometime. All right, let's move to the next part of our show, which is the cryptids. I got a message. I don't know if it was an email or if it was on YouTube, but somebody said, "Oh my God, it scared the hell out of me when you did that cryptid corner thing." So, Grateful Owl, just so you know, that lightning crack has scared the hell out of several people. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Keeps the attention. So let's get to the cryptid corner, ladies and gentlemen, where we're going to dive into all things cryptozoological. There we go. It kind of came out. Little jumbled at first, but I got it. Sorry. I was just reading a comment from Rumble where I'm trying to catch up on some of this stuff. I'm sorry I'm falling behind in the chats, guys. I'm doing my best. Who are they to decide what information is available to the public? Good point. I don't know. I guess they've kind of crowned themselves the arbiters of all truth, Justin. That's for sure. Yeah. I wish I knew. All right. We're going to dive into the cryptozoological corner and deal with some Bigfoot and other strange phenomena. Again, we're going to start our journey on Sasquatch Chronicles blog at sasquatchchronicles.com. And Wes does an amazing job, so please check out the blog. You won't be disappointed, I'm just telling you. Huh? All right, here we go. The first one from the Sasquatch Chronicles blog is from August 27th. 7 to 8 foot tall white thing. I wonder if this is in Pennsylvania. No, it's in West Virginia. I know there's a famous Bigfoot that's been sighted multiple times in Pennsylvania, and it's apparently an albino. Some people claim to have captured footage of it, which I've seen. I don't know if I'm really convinced about that, but maybe. But there have been claims, not complaints. There have been claims of albino Bigfoot in many states around. Not that it happens real commonly, but it does happen. So, I mean, albinoism is... I don't know what the correct term is, but I guess we're going to go with that. But it happens in all of nature. There's white buffalo, there's white moose, white deer. I've seen white squirrels. There's albinism or albinoism, whatever it would be, is, it's just a part of, I don't know, like a genetic misfire maybe. And I'm not saying that. There are plenty of people. I met this albino person once. A nice, wonderful guy. A really talented person. But, so they are people as much as anyone else. It's just for some reason they just don't have the same kind of, I don't know if it's melanin or what is it? What is pigment in the skin? It's just they're so fair and light and their eyes are so sensitive. But incredible people. But it just happens. Well, let's see what's going on in this Bigfoot report. I will say that in nature usually abhors an albino. Like, they don't seem to live real long, robust lives. And I don't know if that's some other physical maladies that present themselves as a part of that condition, or just because they stick out like a sore thumb in the natural world and are subject to predation so much easier because they don't blend in. So I don't know. But anyway, let's dig into this. A listener writes, I was 17 or 18. I'm 21 now. And it happened in West Virginia where I lived. Me and my family had 365 acres of land. That's a lot of land. And the Appalachian Trail runs right beside it, like maybe 10 feet away from the grass to the trail. The encounter took place in 2022. And it was in the summertime. It was about 9 at night. It was getting dark. And me and my mom and my dad and my buddy, my dad, brother, and my buddy, all went on the mountain. We took 2 different ARCs. Is that like a all-terrain vehicle kind of thing? I guess. It's about a 10-minute drive to get to the top of the mountain, and we just got to the top, and was sitting there talking about 15 or so minutes after we just sat there talking. We keep seeing something down below us moving back and forth in the trees, but we just kind of blew it off because we got bear and bobcats up there. And well, then about 5 minutes later, we hear branches breaking behind us. Ooh. So we turn to see nothing. Nothing there. So we go back to talking, and I keep looking back to see if I see anything. And then I seen a 7 or 8 foot tall white thing just standing there looking at us. It was just watching us, and I'm telling everyone to look. And by the time they turned to look, he's gone. So we're talking about what I seen. Sorry, this is the way it's written. I'm just reading it how it's written. And then we heard some more noise up there. And we all look up and see a light brown one standing near the trail. And then we start to freak out a little. So we start to drive down the hill to the bottom of the mountain. And you got to go in a path that cuts in the middle of the woods for like 10 seconds to get to the other hill. And you could just hear something crashing through the woods beside us. And then we stop in the middle of the other field and nothing happens. And then about 5 minutes later, you could see something running back and forth in the woods. Excuse me. And we said, yeah, it's time to leave. So we're going pretty fast. And then my dad said that he looked back as we was leaving and see one running out of the path of overgrown brush that was there. And he said that it had to be about 12 feet tall. And its head came to the top of the brush. And I think that's the fastest we ever went off that mountain. This one ain't really an encounter, but we lived in the middle of nowhere and we had the state forest right beside us. Like you stepped out the door and walked 7 feet and you was in the forest. And a lot of time when I went out there at night to go to the truck, I felt like I was being watched, like all the hair on my arms would stand up. And it was just a really creepy feeling. I'm not saying it was Bigfoot because we have bobcats and stuff there, but it was really strange. Now, another thing me and my buddy Randy had happened to us is we went hunting, and we have hunting blinds that we made up there, but we was coming back from hunting one night. And about 150 yards away, there was 2 glowing orbs. And it was almost like eyes. And we turned the ATV lights off, and you could still see them glowing. We went back up there after the Bigfoot encounter, and we found footprints. We have pictures. I would have to go find them if you'd like to see them. And I also have a story of another animal, and it was in the newspaper. My grandmother's seen it. If you'd like to hear about that, just let me know. Well, there you go. Yeah, it sounds like a pretty happening place. You know, I know the Appalachian Trail is plenty busy as far as, claims of people seeing Bigfoot and other strange things. So lots of weirdness on the Appalachian Trail, folks. The ghost radar is really quiet tonight, isn't it? Huh. All right. Well, that's the first story. So let's go to the next one. Just occurred to me that we haven't heard anything from that thing tonight. We'll have to wait and see what happens. This one's from August 26th. I'll tell you from that last story. Now, I know that not everybody is a writer and not everybody writes really well. But it's hard to read some of those stories that are written that way. It's hard to read. I don't want to put the person down in any way, but it's hard to read grammar that's awkward like that. It's probably just the way the person talks, so that's the way he types or shared his message. But it is tricky to read because my mind keeps going, that's not right, that's not right, that's not how that's said, that's not how you say that. So it's all going through my own personal filter, and I'm like, just read it. So I'm wrestling with myself. Anyway, August 26th, this one, the people that sold the house joked about it being haunted. Ooh. A listener writes, I'm a subscriber of Sasquatch Chronicles and am enthralled with the show. No sightings for me, unfortunately. However, I daily scan our woods behind our home. I'm aware of this is off topic. However, I couldn't find a way to contact you for the After Dark show. I've listened to different guests on your show, and prior to this, have always believed Sasquatch is real. My parents, myself, and one of my sisters have witnessed UFOs and a haunted house when growing up in West Virginia. Well, this house affected every one of us profoundly, and we still talk about it a lot. My mother passed last year, and she was always up for discussing what happened there. I'll try to summarize. This took place when I was 11 to 18 years old. I'm now 56. Don't want to think about the math. That's quite a range, but when you're 56, hell, it could be any time in there. On the outskirts of Raynell, West Virginia, My parents bought the farm, which included a mountaintop where I had the best and the worst memories of my life. The people that sold the house to us joked around that the man's father died in the house and that the ghost would visit them. Well, it didn't take too long before we moved in that activity began. My dad laughed it off, but never made fun of us when something happened. I had my own room in the back of the house where 3 orbs of light would circle around in a tight pattern on the back of a dresser that abutted my bed. And I was always terrified seeing them, but being raised to stand up for myself, I often got out of bed, searched from where they came from, and I'd hold my hand up, and the lights didn't fragment as if they were just coming from the back of the dresser. So he's holding his hand up to see where it's coming from, like if he could break the beam somewhere. But it didn't happen. Didn't come from the window either, so I told my parents about them. Well, after hearing me tell the same story over and over, my mom stayed with me one night, and she saw them too. Scared her pretty bad, so she went to get my dad. Well, he didn't see them and ran outside thinking we had a peeping Tom. Well, of course there wasn't anybody outside, but I always had a feeling that the lights weren't human. But they were alive. I know. Weird. My grandmother and her sister came for a visit, and they stayed in my room, not believing me or my mother. Well, they ran out screaming, relaying the same story I'd always told. Well, this happened mostly in the fall and winter. That's interesting because the old Victorian house that I lived in was mostly active during the late summer, fall period. Winter was pretty quiet usually, but the late summer, fall was really when things seemed to liven up. The next 2 events changed our family, and we eventually moved out. During a summer break from school, I was 16, and my mom, my sister, and I were watching television. Mom made us grilled cheese and tomato soup for lunch, and we're eating in our living room that was covered in a god-awful puke green former shag carpet. Real 70s throwback. I was sitting on the floor when something caught my attention. Rolling towards us. It was the lid from the can of tomato soup rolling on its edges. Well, I remember Mom, my sister, and I watched the lid roll past us and then fell over in front of our TV. We didn't say a word. And then Mom started talking, and she said that she'd left that lid on the electric can opener, and the lid had to have rolled off the counter about 5 feet through our linoleum-floored kitchen, and then made a 90-degree turn onto the carpet where it rolled another 15 to 17 feet before it stopped. We were spooked. My dad came home from work and laughed it off, thinking we were just joking around. The last major event happened about 6 months prior to moving out, changing my dad's mind on every incident we'd ever told him. There were a lot of little things happening weekly, but nothing like the lights, tomato soup lid, and his own encounter. My parents were in their bed, awakened at around 1 a.m., they said, later when retelling us. We had a Boston Terrier that liked to sleep with them. However, on this night, she wasn't with them. Well, they both woke up and looked at each other when their blanket was being pulled at the foot of their bed. My dad said he did a soft kick and yelled at our dog's name, thinking it was her moving the covers. And he was shocked when the dog ran in there from me or my sister's room. He told Mom it was probably the dog leaving, and they laid back down to try and sleep. The same thing happened again, and this time our dog yelped and left their room. My dad was mad by now, got up, turned the lights on, and looked under the bed, the closet, checked the room, and even took the blanket and sheets off the bed. When he was satisfied it was nothing, they remade the bed and tried to sleep again. My dad, when recounting this to us, is still visibly shaken by what happens next. Just as they were dozing off, the blanket on the bed was being pulled again. Him and Mom slowly sat up and were watching the blanket move. My dad tried holding the blanket and felt the strength of whatever was pulling. And they both said while watching that it looked as if someone was slowly pulling it from them since it was gathered, bunched up at the bottom. My mom started praying and my dad yelled for it to leave them alone since they couldn't see anyone, just the blanket being pulled. It did stop, whatever it was, but it spooked my dad enough that he put the house up for sale. The house was sold 6 months later, and we'd often sleep in sleeping bags on our living room, huddled together until that time. We kept in contact with our neighbors, and they told my parents that around 2 months after we left, the new homeowner's wife came running out of their house and screamed, "They sold us a haunted house," and cursed my dad for not telling them. We never told our neighbors what happened in this house. This really did happen to me, and I think it affected me and my mom more. We had strange things happen. Me more than her. And I've been struck by lightning in front of my daughter on her orientation day at college. I've had lightning bolts strike my car, a fireball tear up the ground where my grandfather saw it with me, a large UFO when I was 4 years old, and 3 years ago, a giant light orb coming from my neighbor's yard toward me on multiple occasions while walking my puppy during the night. My mom and I often discussed if the house was haunted or if it was our family. Our family is devout Christians, mostly Baptists, and also believed that all of these events were real. My mom always told me, of course there are aliens and different beings. My God isn't so small that he can't create other planets. They probably have their own Bible too. I miss her terribly. Anyhow, I've been wanting to write for a while, especially hearing your guests talk about the lights. Didn't have a reason other than sharing my story. That's fascinating. It sounds like a lot of things going on there, but I would suspect maybe with that much activity in one place, maybe they do have a portal or something on that location. You know, it's hard to say, but it sounds like a lot of varied phenomena happening in one place. Now, is it possible something followed them? Sure. Or attached to one of them? Sure. Absolutely. Yeah, attachments can be horrifying things. And it might not just be one thing. Could be several things. Interesting enough. International Playboy came in, Ghost in the Darkness, a true story of the Man-Eaters of Savo. I love that movie, The Ghost of the Darkness. Absolutely a great movie. Wonderful. Wasn't Michael Douglas in that? I don't remember. Anyway, great movie, whatever. I remember watching it. I just don't remember who was in it now. Burial Ground too. Yeah. Yeah, Burial Ground might be a Native American burial ground location. Sure. That's a great take. I hadn't thought of that, but you're right. That would make a lot of sense for some of this strangeness, for sure. But at any rate, pretty scary. Now, that wasn't really cryptids, but hell, we discuss it all here on the portal. So I wanted to read this one. I've had this one open for a while. We're going to jump over to phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen. This is Lon Strickler's site. It's an incredible site. Lon does an amazing job as well. He's posting several new articles every day. I mean, Lon is truly a machine at this as well. And he's been, he's created an iconic location for paranormal lovers. So if you like paranormal encounters, if you like Fortean topics, if you like all of the strangeness from ghosts to cryptozoology to UFOs, etc., check out Lon's site, phantomsandmonsters.com. You can learn more about Lon and all that he does, the research efforts that he and his affiliates do, looking into a lot of this strange phenomena, like the Mothman phenomena up in the Great Lakes region. They've been all over that. And Bigfoot, Dogman, you name it, Lon's involved in all of it, as well as his published works and his own podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. So look into phantomsandmonsters.com and you can find out more. And you can look for Phantoms and Monsters Radio right here on YouTube. He does live streams as well. And that's a cool thing because you get to hear it right from Lon. All right, so we're going to dive into this story from phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen. Special thanks to Lon and Wes both for letting us use their sites. Bizarre and frightening elevator ride remains unexplained. Now, this may not be cryptids. I didn't pre-read it, so I don't know. It sounds more like strange phenomena, but we'll see. A field trip to the museum is highlighted by a bizarre experience on an elevator. An odd man dressed in all black entered the elevator. The ascent was like a never-ending climb to nowhere. Ooh. Do you think they just took a step into the Twilight Zone? Don't you just expect it, like the narrator to come in? I received the following account. Hi, Lon. After hearing story after story of strange encounters with strange men dressed in black suits, I wanted to tell you a story from my childhood that to this day I've been unable to explain. This took place in 2001 when I was 8 years old. It was summer and I was on a field trip with my town's community center's daycare program. And we were at the New York State Museum in Albany, New York, and I was in a group of maybe 2 or 3 other kids and one of the daycare workers for a chaperone. We got there in the morning and were told that we could roam around the museum with our group until either noon or 1 when we had to meet back up with everyone for lunch on the 3rd floor. Our group walked around looking at all the exhibits, and after a while, we realized we had lost track of time. We only had a few minutes to get up to the 3rd floor for lunch, and attendance, and we were on the other side of the museum from where the elevators are. We hurried quickly to the lobby and hopped into an elevator, out of breath from the near sprint that we had done to the lobby. Our group piled into the elevator and we hit the 3rd floor button, and my chaperone said we made it in time and that we still had a minute or 2 to spare. Then, as the doors were closing, an extremely well-dressed man walked into the elevator. He was wearing black shoes, a black suit, with a white dress shirt, black tie, black leather gloves, and a black fedora. And he was carrying a black leather briefcase. At the time, I thought nothing of it, but I've always looked back at this and thought this was very odd, as it was summer and he was dressed for the dead of winter. As the man got on, I noticed that he kept his head down, almost as though he didn't want us to see his face. He quickly turned around, only then lifting his head. He just stood there with his back to us. I don't remember ever seeing him select the floor. Well, the elevator doors closed, and this eerie feeling seemed to be emanating from the man in the black. And we had left the lobby on the 1st floor and were going up to the 3rd floor, so the ride should have been maybe 10 or 20 seconds at most. The elevator's display showed we had arrived on the 3rd floor, but the elevator didn't stop. The numbers just kept climbing, and we were definitely still moving. I want to preface this by saying those elevators in the lobby only have access to 4 floors. And to my knowledge, the museum only has 4 above ground floors. I'll talk more about that at the end. Well, at this point, it had been well over a minute since the elevator started moving, and the numbers on the display continued to climb, as did the elevator. That eerie feeling that had been seemingly emanating from this man was getting more intense, and the air in the elevator was beginning to get extremely heavy. Well, this seemed to get more and more noticeable as we continued to go up. The higher the elevator climbed, the feeling turned from eerie to foreboding. I remember getting the feeling you get in the pit of your stomach when you know something bad is going to happen. Something definitely wasn't right. The display was saying we had passed the 50th floor, and we were still climbing. At this point, it had been around 5 minutes in the elevator. The atmosphere in the elevator had gotten almost unbearable. This heavy, ominous feeling was something I've never experienced since. The closest thing I can compare it to is that feeling you get when you walk down a dark hallway after watching a horror movie. And even that doesn't begin to describe this. Suddenly, the elevator stops. There's a sudden shift in the atmosphere of the elevator, and it went from this foreboding feeling to a feeling of impending doom. And then I remember almost panicking when I thought about what was on the other side of those doors. I was telling myself over and over that the buttons on the elevator didn't go past the 4th floor. So there aren't any floors beyond that. So whatever is on the other side of those doors can't possibly exist. This whole experience can't possibly have happened. And when the doors open, I'll see all my friends on the other from the other groups eating lunch, and everything will be okay. But that's not what happened. And this is where things have always gotten fuzzy for me. I remember getting on the elevator with my group, the man walking in, and the elevator going up, but I can't remember my group being in the elevator after that certain point. I know it was at least 5 minutes from the time we entered the elevator before it stopped, and yet I can't tell you how much time passed between when the elevator stopped and when the doors opened. I can remember looking at the display to see what floor we were on, but can't remember what it said. I remember being frozen there with no sound or movement whatsoever. I remember feeling like if those doors opened, something bad was going to happen, to the point where I remember panicking inside of my head, pretending that none of this was happening. But every time I opened my eyes, that sinister man was still standing there, as still as a statue. And then all of a sudden, the man who was responsible for all of this, who had not moved a single muscle since the elevator doors closed, drops his briefcase. Not even a second after the briefcase hit the ground, the doors of the elevator opened. And yet I can't remember what was beyond those doors. I've tried to remember it and have never been able to see it. I just remember it being white and bright. The man then calmly picked up his briefcase, tipped his fedora almost as if to bid us goodbye, and walked off the elevator. And I remember the doors closing, and the ominous feeling is gone. And in an instant, we were on the 3rd floor and the doors popped open. Only then do I remember seeing the rest of my group on the elevator. All of them looked as terrified as I did, especially our chaperone. Looking out, I saw the rest of the kids and chaperones from the other groups, and we walked out of the elevator and had been expecting to be extremely late for lunch, but we had made it on time. This is impossible because we had initially made it to the elevator a minute or so before lunch started, and that encounter on the elevator had lasted at least 5 or 10 minutes. I remember our chaperone pulling up the other adults aside, and I assumed told them what had happened to us on the elevator. I remember sitting at the table with my friends eating a pizza, Lunchable, and the kids from my group, and I sharing the story of what had just happened, and no one believing us. I remember the chaperone. I had avoided the subject for the rest of the day, and the other kids in my group seemed to have dropped it as well. I remember that I told my mom what happened, and I've always felt as though she didn't believe me. But before writing this, I wanted to make sure that it really did happen, since I was so young and it had been well over a decade since this happened, and that it wasn't something my mind made up over the years, or maybe just a very vivid dream. So I asked my mom if she remembered me telling her about this, and she said she did. She remembers picking me up from the community center, and the second we got in the car, I told her all about the man in black and the elevator going up all these floors, and even that he had dropped his briefcase. And she said she also remembers me telling her that he had said something to me, though she doesn't remember what, and I don't have any memory of him saying anything. All these years later, I still have absolutely no clue who that man was, where the elevator took us, and what was beyond the doors when the man walked off, or anything that happened in that elevator. I just know that it happened. I have no idea how long we were in that elevator. It could have been minutes or even hours, but what I do know is that time seems to have been separate from our reality, since no time had actually passed when we got up to the 3rd floor. Hopefully you've heard something similar, or at least have an idea of what happened. I've gone through every explanation I can think of, and none of them make sense. From not remembering correctly what elevator we got on and perhaps getting in one somewhere else, but that's impossible for reasons I've listed in the paragraph below this. I've thought maybe it was a really vivid dream, but my mom remembers me telling her right after picking me up from the daycare. The day of the field trip, and I've even considered a gas leak in the elevator causing us to hallucinate. The one thought that's always been in the back of my mind has been that we got onto the elevator and took a ride through another dimension. Just a little side note, I had a job with a catering company in the Albany area last summer, and one of the most common venues that we catered to was the New York State Museum. Over that summer, I rode probably every public elevator in that building, and even a cargo elevator that they have, and not a single one I rode on had any buttons beyond the 4th floor. Sincerely, E.S. Yikes. Wow. Yeah, the mom remembered, so that's good. I mean, that's corroboration. But what the hell did they experience? That's some freaky stuff. I think we share our reality with a lot of things that we don't understand. And I think that those things are probably well aware of us in most cases, maybe in some cases. And there's some things we share our reality with that are not aware of us, just like we're not aware of them. But it does seem that there's different orders of things, like, I don't know, levels of things, for lack of a better term. Like there's some very powerful things and some very benign things and a lot of things in between. I don't know. It's very strange. I don't know. It's some crazy stuff, but that's why I love the paranormal. What a great story, though. That was pretty fascinating. Is it a cryptid story? Well, not really, but it's a creepy story. What would you do if you're on an elevator and it just goes and there's some guy there? And as the elevator is going higher, you're getting this bigger feeling of, uh-oh, this is bad. This is a bad person. Uh-oh, uh-oh, uh-oh. You know, what do you do? I don't know. I have to believe that I'd probably try to say hi to the guy. You know, but I've said hi to many people. I mean, I usually say hello to people when I'm walking around. Oh, hello. How you doing? Hi. How's your day? That kind of stuff. And I always find it peculiar when you meet the people that don't even acknowledge you say anything. It's just like, you know, I always think, is that an alien? Is that an alien maybe? Maybe they don't know how this works. Or it might just be that I'm irritating the shit out of them, or the hell out of them, sorry. I don't know. I could be an annoying bastard, I suppose. I don't know. But I always like to say hello to people. And I am genuinely surprised when people don't at least return a hello, because it seems like just a basic decency. It's not like you're asking them for a loan. You're not asking, to solve some math or something. You're just, hey, hello, how you doing? Just a nice smile and hello. But there are people you bump into, and it's just like, man, they won't even acknowledge that you spoke. And they could just be dicks. I mean, there's plenty of dicks in the world. They don't have to be supernatural. But I do wonder every once in a while, it's like, what if some of those people are, maybe they just don't understand the common decencies. I don't know. Just an interesting thing. But a great story. Great story. I don't understand. What did I do? Did I hit the wrong one? I must have hit the wrong button there somewhere. Can't even figure out what that was. What was it? Oh, did I hit this one? Yeah, I did. Now I can figure it out because nobody's joining me. This is my co-host. Me and co-host button, but there's no co-host. Just my calendar app open over there. I've got a calendar full of things, and it's getting fuller and fuller, which is wonderful. Remember, as a side note, if any of you listening have experiences and you'd want to be on the Paranormal Portal podcast, just let me know. You can go over to paranormalportal.net, hit the interview me button, and pick from dates and times available on the calendar app, and you too could be a guest on the podcast. It's not that the YouTube is not available for guests. I do every once in a while have guests on the YouTube show, but to me it's more exciting to have them on the podcast because I enjoy doing these shows the way they are, and it's certainly less stressful than when I have, to do an interview and keep the conversation going or whatever. Some people are amazingly easy to interview, and some people are a little more work to interview. But it's 2 hours versus 45 minutes to an hour, that a podcast is. So anyway, I like that story. I really did. What's next? All right. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm just looking through some Phantoms and Monsters ones that I've got pulled up here. That one sounds creepy and terrifying. Oh, that one might be good. I'm going to save that one, though. Save that one for Friday. This one's kind of interesting as far as the cryptids go. And this is one we don't talk about much at all, just because we don't get a lot of reports out of Africa. There's several cryptids that hail from Africa, but the big one that comes up a lot is Mokele Mbembe. And it's essentially what is described by the natives that have seen them is like a brontosaurus. It looks like a surviving brontosaurus. So is the Mokele Mbembe still there? Now, interestingly enough, the name I think translates to, and maybe it'll be gone into in the body of this article, but I think it translates to the diverter of streams or something like that. Like it's so big that it changes the flow of the streams when it enters. And so, I don't know. Let's see what it says, though. This is, again, Phantoms and Monsters, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. Africa's living dinosaur. Does the Mokele Mbembe still exist? Or exist? Not still, but does it exist? Interestingly enough, I think a lot of people were very impressed by the fact that through the course of many expeditions for these strange creatures, a lot of times the researchers will bring along books and ask the natives, whatever they are, if they can identify what these things look like. Now, on few occasions, they've brought like a dinosaur book, like with the Mokele Mbembe. And the tribal people all point to like the brontosaur, and they say, there it is, that's it. And so they wouldn't have knowledge of the paleontology and the entire, research into dinosaurs that has happened and how we envision what they would look like. These are very isolated peoples without knowledge of such things. But they looked at the dinosaur book and said, there it is. So how does that happen? Well, let's see. For over 200 years, reports have circulated about a dinosaur-like beast inhabiting Africa's Congo River Basin. And there have been numerous expeditions that, during that period, does it exist? I received the following information from a reader. Lon, I spoke to Thomas this week, and he lived in the city area, Kinshasa, of the Congo, DRC, and he has relatives who live deep in the country. And he says during his life, he's heard of people seeing Mokele Mbembe maybe 3 times, and he is 52. And he put it this way. Here in America, there are white deer, right? You see them only rarely. Some men may never see one, and if he hunts or lives in the woods, Mokele Mbembe is like that, only much more rare. He says they are not quite as large as an elephant, though. I think this could mean they have simply evolved to be smaller than their ancient cousins. His description is consistent with the brownish skin, sometimes being spiked along the back, long neck, small head, and long tail. Also, on at least one occasion, the person telling him what they saw used the word dinosaur, not Mokele Mbembe. That's from Nathan. So, what is the Mokele Mbembe? Is it fact or simply a legend? And here's an overview of the Mokele Mbembe I posted a few years ago. For over 200 years, reports have circulated about a dinosaur-like beast inhabiting Africa's Congo River Basin. In 1776, French missionaries passing through the forest reported finding huge footprints in the ground. The clawed prints were at least 3 feet in circumference and were spaced about 7 feet apart. And this would have made the animal as big as an elephant, but it was common knowledge to the locals that the tracks were not from an elephant, since elephants do not possess claws. One of the priests amazingly even gave claim to have seen several specimens chewing on vegetation while wading in the rivers. Regardless, it was certain that these were an entirely new group of animals. At the time, however, they were neither dinosaurs nor prehistoric, the words waiting to be invented nearly 100 years later. Oh, thank you, Maggie. She remembered. That's wonderful. Thank you, Maggie. Central Africa is unique in that it's the only place where many people really believe they may still exist. Daniel Loxton and Donald Prothero, authors of Abominable Science. Origins of the Yeti, Nessie, and other famous cryptids researched the Mokele Mbembe in depth, and they note that though rumors of enormous beasts hidden in the Congo region date back to at least the 16th century, the idea of an elusive African dinosaur-like animal seems to have developed only after the discovery in the 19th century of fossil dinosaurs. The origin of Mokele Mbembe can be traced back to a 1909 book titled Beasts and Men, being Carl Hagenbeck's experiences for half a century among wild animals, by a showman and zoologist named Carl Hagenbeck. In that book, Hagenbeck speculated that sauropods, long-necked dinosaurs such as the Apatosaurus, might still be alive in deepest Africa, and he offered no evidence aside from legends and rumors, but the sensational claims were quickly picked up and circulated by the press. For example, a Washington Post story from 1910 announced that Brontosaurus still lives. That publicity, according to Luxton Prothero, launched that what would become the modern cryptozoological legend of the Mokele Mbembe. In 1913, a German explorer reported stories of what natives called Mokele Mbembe, which he had heard while in the Congo. Hearing the reports, a few scientists noticed that the descriptions of the creatures made them sound much like a sauropod dinosaurs. Sauropods were the giants of the dinosaur world, averaging about 21 meters long and standing 12 to 15 feet tall at the hips. God, they were giant. In 1932, a British scientist exploring the Likaula region, where the creatures were said to live, came across some abnormally huge footprints. Later, when he went down one of the rivers in a canoe, he heard strange sounds, but didn't see anything. Coincidentally, that same year, the world-famous zoologist and biologist Ivan T. Sanderson, along with an animal trader, Gerald Russell, were paddling up the Mainyu River in the heart of Western Africa when, according to Sanderson's reports, the most terrifying sound I have ever heard, which sounded like an oncoming earthquake or an exploding nearby robot, suddenly greeted us from the large underwater cave. While the water of the river was boiling and foaming directly in front of their canoe, a darkish, shining lizard-like head suddenly rose from the dark water. They described the head as nearly the size of the head of a fully grown hippo, which sat on a thick swan-like neck. The enormous neck was turned towards the two men, and for just a few seconds, although it seemed like an eternity, the monster simply stared at Sanderson and Russell. Mr. Sanderson summed up his thoughts with these emphatic words. I don't know what we saw, but the animal, the monster, burned itself into my retinas. It looked like something that ought to have been dead millions of years ago. As a scientist, I should have been happy, of course, but this encounter was so frightening, so nasty, that I never want to see it again. That must be one of the footprints. This is a Mokele Mbembe footprint. This is from the Republic of Congo, 1966. Wow, look at that. Huh. A dinosaur in Africa. It was 1986, and Rory Nugent and his expedition party were out in the world's largest unexplored swamp on Earth, the Lukola Swamp of Africa. While near Lake Tele, he saw a long, thin neck come up out of the water like that of a dinosaur. Rory immediately took 2 photographs and quickly got in his canoe, but his native guides stopped him at gunpoint and said the creature, would have killed us all. Over the last 100 years, evidence has accumulated that sauropod dinosaurs may still be roaming in the vast, unexplored regions of the African swamp and jungle. Places like Nigeria, Congo, Angola, Gabon, Cameroon have similar reports of huge, long-necked monsters, some with a length of 75 feet. Native sightings have been confirmed by reports from missionaries, explorers, and even army personnel. The natives in the Congo region call this creature Mokele Mbembe, the one who stops the flow of rivers. Okay, there it is. And this creature is said to possess a long neck and tail, a small head, a large body, and 4 legs. And they say the animal is very aggressive when disturbed and will bite and lash its tail at you when it's tipping over canoes, killing elephants or hippos. It is herbivorous, plant eater, enjoys eating a very large amounts of the malumbo fruit that grows on the vines at the edge of the rivers. Tracks from this creature range from 1 to 3 feet wide and are spaced 7 to 8 feet apart. It has no hair, and its skin is very smooth. Dr. Bill Gibbons and Dr. Roy McCall have done much research on the Mokele Mbembe, and without their work, little would be known about it. At Lake Tele in 1983, Marcelin Agnaga was on the expedition when he said he saw Mokele Mbembe swimming in the lake. The creature was halfway out of the water, and he could see its head, neck, and part of its body. His sketch resembles a sauropod dinosaur, and he got his camera and began filming, but the lens cap on, and lost all proof of his encounter. Oh no. He didn't take the lens cap off. In a nearby part of Africa called Cameroon, there's another creature called Lakala Mbembe, and it's said to grow around 70 feet in length and will eat the leaves from the SM tree. Dr. Bill Gibbons has done over 20 years of research on Mokele Mbembes and has discovered that Lakele Mbembes are actually mature Mokele Mbembes that migrate into Cameroon to mate in September and later return to the Congo to give birth to live young. Bill Gibbons discovered also that it would dig tunnels or caves on the shores of rivers. It mostly eats between 3 and 5 p.m. and is active at night. An expedition in 2003 confirmed that the Lakele Mbembe has a height of up to 18 feet by finding trees with all their branches eaten off up to a height of 18 feet. They also found tracks and a cave that had been sealed partly from the inside with mud. One biologist named Peter Beach could hear scratching sounds inside the cave. As the noises became louder, it was evident that whatever was inside the cave was digging its way out towards them. One member of the expedition named Pierre feared for their lives, and they quickly left. Since an adult Mokele Mbembe can be very dangerous if disturbed at close range. S.R.E. was housing some British soldiers in 1948 near Lake Borombi in the northern Cameroon. When he and some others were swimming in the lake, something broke through the surface of the water. In a very short time, everyone was out of the water, and they observed 2 giant reptiles coming out of the water. The larger one had a longer neck, about 15 feet long, and a spike or horn on its head, and the smaller one did not have. Their skin was not smooth, but rather scaly. Please note that natives who have seen these creatures are not afraid to tell others what they've seen because they haven't been taught about evolution and don't know about dinosaurs were supposed to have been extinct millions of years ago. I feel the theory of evolution actually hinders the discovery of animals thought to be extinct. When the school textbooks teach about the history of dinosaurs, why don't they mention there's a strong possibility they still might be living? Because of this unproven theory, people are hesitant to tell anyone when they see dinosaurs like the Loch Ness Monster or Mokele Mbembe for fear of what people might think. Here's some continued information by David Wotzel, who's been on expeditions in search of Mokele Mbembe. Number one, the older 20 to 45 foot long creatures live and mate in the Dija and maybe in the Sangha rivers. These mature MMs, Mokele Mbembes, have very tough scales, but like the back of a crocodile, also like a croc, their underbelly is much softer. Their coloration is a dulled brownish gray. The younger creatures live in Lacula swamp region. Their scales are softer, and their colors are more vivid reddish brown. They're probably more skittish than their older counterparts. The sharp contrast in areas by age suggests a migration that only happens once in their lives, although the mother likely goes with its offspring to take them to the swamp. Their birth instincts are peculiar and vague. The native people say that Mokele Mbembe gives birth to live young every 20 years, and this is not a trait likely in reptiles. Maybe the people there have it wrong because they're not able to find a nest site. Some nests have been found. For how territorial these animals are, they likely guard their nests very aggressively. They'd likely kill anyone that gets close enough to see their eggs. No matter what, the mother's birth migration probably happens in 1 to 2 ways. They either migrate to the swamp and lay eggs or give live birth, or they lay their eggs along the river and the mother and offspring go off to the swamp together. I'm in favor of that idea because the nests are found along the rivers, and the only time more than one Mokele Mbembe is seen is when it is with its mother, according to the natives. The mother remains with her offspring for about a year. It may use this time to take a baby to the swamp and prepare it for life on its own. The adult male has a shorter neck, but it also has a spiky back, and the female has a longer neck without the spikes. The young all have dermal ridges. That's from livingdinos.com. Expeditions primarily began in the 1800s, shortly after the region was taken over by Belgium. For many years, therefore, it's been called the Belgian Congo, beginning from 1909. Here's a brief list of over a dozen of them. American Expedition 1909, naturalist Carl Hagenbach recounted in his autobiography how 2 separate individuals, a German named Hans Schomburg and an English hunter, told him about a huge monster, half elephant, half dragon, that lived in the Congo swamps. Later, another naturalist, Joseph Menges, related to Hagenbach that some kind of dinosaur seemingly akin to a brontosaurus inhabited the swamps. Hagenbach soon sent an expedition to the Congo to search for the monster, but the effort was quickly aborted due to disease and hostile natives. German Expedition 1913, Captain Freier von Stein zu Lausnitz was sent by the German government to explore the Cameroon. Von Stein wrote of a unique animal called in the local tongue Mokele Mbembe, said to inhabit the areas of the Ubangi Sanga and Kalamba rivers. Von Stein described the creature thus. The animal said to be of brownish gray color with smooth skin, the size approximately that of an elephant, at least that of a hippopotamus, and it's said to have had a long and very flexible neck and only one tooth, but a very long one. Some say it is a horn. A few spoke about the long muscular tail and like that of an alligator, and it's said to climb the shore even at daytime in search of food. Its diet is said to be entirely vegetable. At the Sasambo River, I was shown a path said to have been made by this animal to get at its food, and the path was fresh, and there were plants in the described type, liana, nearby. American Expedition 1920, 32-men strong expedition was sent from the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. After 6 days, African guides found large, unexplainable tracks along the bank of a river, and later the team heard mysterious roars, which had no resemblance with any other known animal. Coming from an unexplored swamp, however, the Smithsonian's hunt for Mokele Mbembe is said to end in tragedy. During a train ride through a flooded area where an entire tribe was said to have seen the dinosaur, the locomotive suddenly derailed and turned over. 4 team members were crushed to death under the cars, and another half dozen were seriously injured. American Expedition 1932. In 1932, American cryptozoologist Ivan Sanderson was traveling in Africa and came across a large hippo-like tracks in a region with no hippos, and he was told by the natives that they were made by a creature named the Mbulu Mbembe. Later, Sanderson saw something in the water that seemed too large to be a hippo, but it disappeared before he could investigate further. American Expedition 1972 and 1960, herpetologist James Powell Jr. took an interest in the African dragons and organized an expedition to the Congo in 1972. Powell's expedition, unfortunately, was fraught with problems. The United States and the Congo had poor relationships at the time. Many months of hardships such as snake bites, near drownings, and tropical diseases only led to more witness testimonies about Mokele Mbembe and another lizard-like creature which locally was called, Inyamala. American Expedition 1976. James Powell decided to go to Gabon instead, inspired by a book called Trader Horn in 1927. The book, a memoir of the author's time in Gabon, I guess, specifically along the Ogooué River, was written by Englishman Alfred Aloysius Smith. He recorded hearing of a creature called the Jago Nini and identified it with the Amali, a creature whose tracks he had seen. And he was quick to realize that they were probably identical to the Mokele Mbembe. And furthermore, Powell heard local legends of the Nyamala, and locals identified pictures of a sauropod dinosaur as bearing the most resemblance to the animal. There you go. German Expedition 1980, an expedition mounted by engineer Hermann Regustus and his family and his wife Kaya, I don't know how you say that for sure, managed to make his way to Lake Tele, where they had heard growls and roars of an unknown creature, and they also claimed to have photographed Mokele Mbembe in the lake, as well as watching it walk on land through the brush. According to Regustus, the creature they saw was 30 to 35 feet long. 1980, another one, American expedition. Powell launched another expedition in 1980, but this time cryptozoologist Roy P. Mackle came along, and Powell and Mackle found that large number of reports came from the banks of the Lekuala Herbes River near Lake Tele, and they said that most witnesses maintained that the animal was between 15 to 30 feet long, and a long neck accounted for much of the length. The creature was also said to be a rust color, and that some had been seen to possess a frill or crest. 1981, yet another expedition was organized in 81, this time composed by Mackle J. Richard Grenwell, M. Justin Wilkinson, and Congolese zoologist Marcelin Agnagma. The expedition encountered what they believed was a Congo dinosaur along the Lukula River, where they heard a large animal leaping into the water near Apina, and they also discovered a path of broken branches supposedly made by the animal, as well as several footprints. This is a long article. There's a lot more. Oh my God. I don't know how much longer I can read this. It's 9:07. I'll read the 83 one. I was hoping to get to one that was done by Adam Davis, who is still around today. He's still out there doing research, not into the Mokele Mbembe anymore, but that I know of. But yeah, he did a huge expedition into the Congo looking for it. African Expedition 1983. In April 1983, a Congolese expedition led Marcelin Agnapa and a zoologist from the Brazzaville Zoo arrived at Lake Tele, and Agnagna claimed to have seen the beast some 275 meters out in the lake, and the animal held its thin, reddish head, which had a crocodile-looking oval eyes and a thin nose on a height of 90 centimeters, and looked from side to side, almost as if it was watching him. According to Agnagna, the animal was a reptile, though not a crocodile, nor a python, or a freshwater turtle. I just wonder how far is this going? This is enormous. Yeah, it's going to go on and on and on. I tell you what, I'll copy the link and put it in the chats. If you want to learn more about these expeditions into the Mokele Mbembe, it's fascinating. I love this kind of article. We just don't hear much about it, but that is an incredibly comprehensive article. That is really, really well done. So it's in the chats if you guys want to check it out. Again, if you want to read it from the start, this is from Phantoms and Monsters, Africa's Living Dinosaur. Does the Mokele Mbembe exist? August 12th, 2024. So check it out over on phantomsandmonsters.com, ladies and gentlemen. But I'll tell you what, that was a lot of reading. Hey, Brenda, kind of came in late tonight, but you stated you're going to be off for a little while. I am, Kitty, yeah. I'm not going to be doing any shows until about the 19th, I think. Is that right? What did I say? I got to look at the calendar again. Everything's in a blur. My head's in a blur, really. Let's see. I'm going to be back on actually the 13th and 14th. 13th and 14th, I will be back for live shows, but between Saturday and then there will be nothing. So there will be a live show Friday again and Saturday, and then nothing until 13th, Friday the 13th of September. Coming back on the 13th, Friday the 13th. It is a great article, yeah. I didn't know there were so many sightings either, but that is just incredibly comprehensive. Lon really knocked it out of the park with that one, for sure. So very, very cool. But yeah, I'm gonna be at a conference this next week, and then when I get back, I've got several days of stuff I've got to take care of, and it's gonna be all hours of the day and night. So I just won't be able to stream until the 13th again. So I hope you understand. Paranormal Portal merchandise. Thank you, Maggie. Have fun. I hope it's going to be a fun since you're taking time off. Well, if you're not familiar with it, this is where I'm going to be. I'll put it back up on the screen. But here's where I'm going to be. This is at Phenomicon, September 4th through the 7th, 2024, Vernal, Utah. And there's an incredible list of people that are going to be there speaking and talking and presenting. Nick Pope, David Paulides, Travis Taylor, Maria, Dr. Maria from Expedition Bigfoot. Ross will be there. Just a great, and if you want to see, go to phenomicon.net is the name of their webpage. But here's all the presenters. There's just so many people that'll be putting on presentations. Dave Schrader, awesome. Thomas Winterton, he's part of the staff of the Skinwalker Ranch. I've talked to him. Great guy. Wonderful people. Tony Merkel's going to be there. Ben Hansen. If you're familiar with any paranormal TV, you know this guy. There's so many. Russ Accord, Expedition Bigfoot. Greg Lawson, wonderful guy. Eric Bard from Skinwalker Ranch. George Knapp's going to be there. Nick Pope. William Henry, as well as Travis Taylor, Dr. Maria Mayer, and David Paulides, Missing 411. So they're all going to be there. And you could be there and see us. That would be the fascinating part. So if you're available, I'd love to see you guys there. So that's where I'll be. And all the cool people will be too, clearly. So if you're not there, then that's just kind of tragic. That's all I'm going to say. So that's going to wrap up the show for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. The last article was a lot bigger than I thought. Oh, my eyes are actually burning because there's so much to read. But anyway, I hope you guys had a good time. Thank you so much, everybody, for coming and joining me here on the show. I always love when you guys are here with me, and I hope you guys continue to spread the word about the portal to other people. Let them know what we're doing. Share these links. Share the episodes out on social media. I'd appreciate it. It really helps out a bunch because word of mouth is the greatest endorsement I could ask for. So that's all we got time for tonight. I hope you guys are doing good. Yeah, it did sound like a Men in Black, that elevator story, didn't it, Justin? I'm just looking at some of the chats. I haven't been focusing much on chat tonight for the last, since we hit the cryptid corner, but there's so much reading involved. So I got to focus on reading. But anyway, that's all there is tonight. I'll be back on Friday night with Sheldon, and I hope you guys will join me. And after that, Saturday night, and then subscribe if you're not already. Hit the all notifications so you get notified if I go to a live stream at some point during this hiatus. It's going to be a slam busy time, but there's a lot of cool things going to be going on, not only with the conference, but with some other stuff going on in the Vernal area, in the Uinta Basin. That's all I'm going to say. So hopefully we'll see you guys there. Any of you can make it, I'd love it. But otherwise, I'll be back to Friday and Saturday, so join me then. 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on wherever you're watching now. Be back then. I'll see you there. I'll be waiting for you. So have a great night, guys. Happy hump day. You're on the downhill slide now towards the weekend. So hope your week is going wonderful. Remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day and remember to laugh as much as you can. That's your homework. All right. Until then, y'all take care of yourselves. See you next time.